Okay. Well, hello everybody. It's Tuesday. It's Brian, and um, yeah. So we've you know had a good weekend. It was quite a bit different weekend than what we normally do. It was Father's Day weekend, which I don't put a lot of stock into really. Uh, Hard holiday and all that, but we did go out to Wild Animal Park in San Diego. Sorry, Safari Park in San Diego. I knew it before it was the Safari Park. Anyway, walked around there for a little bit, and that was nice. And just hung out. And because this weekend was the last weekend, my daughter pretty much was, I think, what I would consider to be an adolescent. And now she's starting, well, as of yesterday, she is working at a job, and this is probably the longest that she will have been away from us since she was a child, but looked after by family members. She's working at a camp as a counselor, which first paying job, uh, out on her own, doing her thing, straight up adulting. And yeah, that makes me feel old. Feel old. Don't think I've felt that old in a long time. And so our cats obviously are having to deal with that as well because they're like somebody's missing from the pack or the pride, if you will. So we've been dealing with whatever that is. Hey, Walt, how you doing? Yeah, so been working through that and understanding what that new paradigm looks like. And she'll be back on the weekends, but until she goes back to school in August. But yeah, it's interesting paradigm. So uh yeah, hey. So I have Walt, I've been diligently working on my boot.dev. I'm down to the last exercise. I haven't submitted them yet because I have there it is. I have not submitted them because I want to maximize my XP potential. And so I have solved all of them to date with massive amounts of help from Boots, obviously. But um, yeah, I've finished all but the last one and was working through some of that. The irony of the issue is so what what I didn't realize was so it took me a little bit to get this one, but then I go to the next lesson and the answer is like right there. I was like, oh, well, that would have maybe if I'd have looked at the next, maybe I'd have looked at the next lesson, it would have, shown me what I needed to do. I totally did. I totally whiffed on that, and so I spent a good amount of time with Boots, working through some of these issues, making them, work properly, and I was, trying to make them, match up and everything. So, yeah. You're at level 50. Of course you are. I'm at level 52, but you're going to beat me before that. What I think is interesting is you have 111,000 XP, but you're only level 50. I'm like level 52 and only have 3,000. I don't understand. No, 1,397 XP. So I'm not exactly sure how that works. If it's less, it can't be lessons solved. I'm not exactly sure how they're going about um, working that item. So yeah, I don't understand that. But yeah, I totally whiffed on the fact that hey, you can go and pretty much check the answer next door on the next level. But yeah, so I finished this one. I just haven't submitted it. I finished this one. I just haven't submitted it as well. And yeah, I've engaged a lot of discussion with Boots on these things. I think I've got the OOP stuff down. I still don't understand why it works the way it works. But I understand, if you don't call this variable type, you don't call this variable because this variable's almost immutable or unchangeable. What you wanted, it allows. It's almost like it's don't want to say immutable, but it's like if you send it new data, this is where you would send it to versus calling the variable, which is this one here. So it's almost like, um, yeah, it's really weird. But yeah, you end up calling, self.sort type if you want those. Or the other thing that got me was the new additions, like the addition and subtraction and stuff. The uh, the XP on your name is the XP for this level. Oh, guess I should. Yeah, let me go. I'm gonna check. I didn't actually understand. Okay, it's 4,000. Uh, oh, there it is. No, no, none of those. Top league earners. I have 4,000. 10 karma. Okay. 0 daily earners so far. Yeah, I don't know where I'd get that information from. So yeah, I don't. Anyway, so there's no Sockville quiz this week, but I thought maybe because if they put out one this week, we would, be able to study up in case that happens. So I was looking at a couple of um, news articles where we might be able to go and read up on, something that might be in the Sockville quiz. So I was reading up on, Kim Jong Rat, Steeler variant, and PowerShell implementation. And so, talking about one of the new variants uses a portable executable file. And so the Kim Jong Rat Stealer, new research findings with existing knowledge to provide a comprehensive resource for understanding and combating rat variants. And um, this is not a new rat. It's actually fairly old, as of 2013, by malware.lu. And they documented another variant of the family in 2019. One of the new variants uses a portable executable file and a PowerShell implementation, which is interesting because it uses PowerShell, which is almost exclusively Windows based. They do have a they do have a PowerShell implement. Do they have I know they have a PowerShell implementation for Linux. Do they have PowerShell for Mac? Yeah. Okay. So macOS does have a PowerShell implementation. That is interesting. Interesting. Uh, I mean, that's like, I don't even know where to go with that. It's like peak weirdness. I mean, using Edge on OS X, I've done that. It's different, but that's it's like something purely Microsoft. Yeah, just really weird. Uh, But yeah, I knew Linux had PowerShell. That's why I was like, I knew it had PowerShell, but I wasn't sure if OS X had it. But yes, PowerShell is available for all Windows variants and several Linux types as well. I mean, sorry, Linux versions and OS X in this case. So malicious files, including the Steeler component of Kim Jong Rat. So Kim Jong Rat variant uses PE files as final payloads. The initial file execution is an LNK file, but we do not know yet how attackers distribute these files. Hmm. Okay. Well, an LNK file is a shortcut link. Seems to me that it would be maybe yeah, I don't know how they would propagate them, but you could easily send that to through an email or a zip file that looks like it might have um, a link file would be like a shortcut. Um, so they go down here, they say when double click, the initial LNK file downloads an HTML application. So the LNK file, what's an LNK file format? It's a shortcut file. It's a file format that creates a link to another file, folder, or application on a computer. Obviously, you can also make it do things like open up a browser and run like I don't know what edge.exe, for instance, and then it would call edge.exe and go to this link and do like a drive-by download. So the link file could be like a shortcut that goes to download a PE file or something like that, or downloads an HTML application, so an HTA file from an attacker-controlled CDN account. So however the LNK file gets to the victim is, I would say, neither here nor there. It's going to be still requires user interaction to double click on the file to activate the rat in this case. So the LNK file reaches out to the C2, the command and control. Download occurs, which is the dropper, which is the HTA file. So maybe like a file.pdf.hta. Um, so, okay, so let me maximize that a little bit. Decoy, so some file gets downloaded. The pdf.hta drops the file. Three embedded files, sys.dll, sexvendor.pdf, and user.text to disk. Okay, so there's the three files that it drops: sys.dll, user text, sexvendor.pdf. It's a decoyed PDF opened by the victim's PDF reader. Interesting. HTA file executes the sys.dll loader. Okay, there's that. And then the DLL makes contact back to the C2. So sys.dll feels like a persistence mechanism in this case, or a callback kind of thing. LNKs are too powerful; they need to be. that is true. Yeah, and if it's something as simple as it comes into email, you can set up something to block LNK files. Nobody should be sending you an LNK file. If it was done accidentally, they would resend you the realistic file anyway. If it was something like a rat or somebody sending you something like this, you would want to block it anyway. So there's really no reason to allow delivery through email of LNK files, or if there's a solution in your Slack or some kind of messaging system where you allow people to contact you. Removal of LNK files and similar type files is probably a good thing, right? Yeah, double clicking one of the initial LNK files, Windows tool cmd.exe, changes directory to the temp folder, then uses curl, assuming curl exists on the box. It might not, or it's been compiled into the HTA file. Oh no, it maybe curl.exe exists without having to install it. I don't know. Downloads an HTA called pdf.hta. See, Walt, I actually have had to install curl when I was on Windows in previous versions. So like Windows, earlier Windows versions, I had actually not tried it on Windows recently. So double check something here real quick. All right. Okay, cool. Tomorrow's gonna be a long day. I got a lot of meetings. Yeah, from a legitimate CDN provider, CDN glitch.global. Okay, so downloads this pdf.hta file. Attacker abuses this service to host the next and subsequent stages of the malware. Sure. Okay. The parameter v. Okay, so there's a v parameter. Okay, so the v I see down here. There we go. And so you see the v parameter that they're talking about here. Maybe that's what is that, time in like, let me see, what is it? Epoch date, yeah. It translates to Wednesday, February 26, 2025. Okay, so obviously the newer versions of that file or that v value would be larger. So like it would be 174, but it would be 835 instead of that, and that would be like sometime in the future. So it's setting some kind of subsequent file. So you download it and it's going to go silent, and then or it waits until it loads or something like that. um uh, Deobfuscated version of, okay, so here's the VB script in the pdf.hta file. um some very interesting payload strings there. Some of the PDF names that they use is very, very interesting. Um, so they have a second stage loader named sysdll, internally named baby.dll, exported functions named S that contains all the malware's functionality. Okay. Um, wow. Wow, they've got a lot of different payloads for this. This is interesting. So an orchestrator and a backdoor as well, called network service.dll. Hey, Fix It, how you doing? Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. I was just talking about how I got old because my daughter's now part of the workforce, and she's spending her summer at a camp helping out as a camp counselor. Um, and she comes home on the weekends now, and we're just kind of the setup for when she goes to college in like December or something, if she gets on can live on the campus. So yeah. So this is a pretty decent write-up of this rat. Ideally, what we're doing is we're kind of studying for when the threat intelligence quiz comes in. There's that. Okay. Um, and yeah, so there's a couple of them. That was from Unit 42. I think I saw another one here. Let me see. Oh, 5100 flashpoint known exploited vulnerabilities. Another milestone from KEV. What is this? Security teams have reaching 5,100 known exploitable vulnerabilities, KEV, just over 700 of which do not have a CVE ID. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, that's what? That's 20%? That's bad math. That's really bad math. Wait a minute. Calculator. Maths. How do they work? 700 divided by 5,100. 14%. Okay, so it wasn't too far off. It was in the realm, right? So 14% of known exploited vulnerabilities in the KEV list by CISA do not have CVE ID, and that could be either because they're still under embargo, and people think, well, they don't want to call attention to it, or um, they are trying to get a CVE. Getting a CVE is probably not easy. My oldest is 17 and a half. Mine's 20, right? So yeah, she found the job herself. She interviewed for it herself. She got the job. She passed the background check. Um, so I mean, it's like straight up adulting. So it's just great to see. I'm very proud of her that she got all this done. Make no mistake, she's not making fat loot, but I think it's just cool that um, she's finding more spoons. If you're understanding of the concept of the idea of spoons and being out of spoons or whatever, but she's going to be digging deep, and there's going to be um, she's going to be uh, dealing with new stuff and new stimuli and a lot of different change. And um, yeah, it's very much akin to when I left and went to the boot camp. Never been away from home for that length of time, and yeah, it was scary and somewhat exciting, different, very different to going to camp and being a camp counselor to a bunch of um, people younger than her. But yeah, it's very cool. So Static achievement, validated threats. This crossing milestones not only based on quantity, but precision, context, and confidence. 30,000 new CVEs are published annually. However, SIS's KEV list, 1,400 of these are exploited in the wild, representing less than 0.5%. Okay. And whatever Flashpoint is, and I'm sure they're about to sell us their threat intelligence product at the bottom of this, uh, says they're observing thousands more. So apparently SICE is only doing so much, but there's thousands more that are being exploited that Kev is not including on their list. Yeah. So VulnDB covers a broader scope, including adversary usage, exploit maturity, scoring, affected product breakdown, known malware leveraging the vulnerability, right? Workarounds, upgrades, and patch status. Yeah. Why human curation matters. Ooh, you missed that one. Yeah, that should be why AI matters. You should be AIing all the things, right? Um, our intelligence is entirely human curated. Yeah, you're behind the eight ball, bro. I think there's probably some automation that could be added here. I get it. Accuracy, supposedly, yes. Contextual understanding, sure. Illuminating the unknown. It is very hard to train an AI to make those, it's not thinking AIs are like still on to be able to bridge that gap between supposition, right? And, use the data and make a supposition based on system one and system two thinking. AIs haven't gotten there yet. So they'll only make a decision based on the data that they have available. They won't make that leap of faith or that leap of logic, or they'll only be able to do it based on that data that you have available. And that's where some humans still, probably are doing a good job because they can connect those dots, I think, a lot easier than others. Um, my guess is they're looking for ways to automate this and might actually use AI there. I think so. Fix it. I think my daughter's on the spectrum as well. Considering I had I have ADHD. I found out that my nephews also have had ADHD, so it runs in the fam. So you know, uh, she does not like change. She's quite a picky eater, and that was one of the things that she had expressed when she was going to take the job. She's like, what happens if they don't? What happens if the food is, her and I agonize over things quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I'm having a little anxiety because of all of this change, anyway, as it is. And I was like, honey, they deal with children, people who are younger than you, children who are probably just as picky eater as you. So they're going to have stuff there, I would imagine, that you would eat, right? And so we tried to be supportive of her and make sure that, she didn't immediately discount this or try to um, talk herself out of it. So it was good. Yeah, she didn't. That's like that. I said, very, very proud of her and for doing all of this herself, and um, you know, um, wanting to go to, wanting to continue college. And what? Look, I'm talking to important people here. What? What? I know she's gone. She's not here right now. You Do you have something to report? Has there been a change in status? Oh my goodness. Well, I know it's difficult when people are gone. She misses me quite a bit whenever I'm away. My wife tells me stories. She misses my wife, but in a different way. So yeah. Um, Anywho, so yeah, there's so KEV is missing some stuff there. Oh, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to find news stories that might be in the next Sockville quiz. So trying to just keep track of those things. Where are you going? You gonna go back down? Okay, well go tell mama. Go tell mama. Uh, Iranian hackers targeting critical infrastructure using a strain of malware deployed against industrial control systems. U.S. officials are $10 million for details on hackers affiliated with a group called Cyber Avengers. Keep that one in mind for the Sockville quiz when it comes out. Cyber Avengers. they're Iranian, and they want $10 million for details on the hackers. I was thinking of that the other day. I was like, do other countries offer rewards and bounties for details on hackers affiliated with these things? Just, if we went to Luxembourg or the UK or something, do they offer bounties for these things? I was just I just find it, you never hear, oh, Australia is offering, $20 million, Australian dollar reward for, information for those things. Um, Cyber Avengers have utilized malware known as IO control to target ICS and SCADA systems, which are industrial control systems, supervisory control, and data acquisition devices used by critical infrastructure, used by infrastructure sectors in the US and worldwide. Members of Cyber Avengers have boasted on Telegram of their attacks and compromises during IO control. Uh, IO controls a strain of malware spotlighted by government officials in 2024 that multiple cybersecurity firms said was being used by Iranian actors to target Israel and US based devices. They're attacking cameras, routers, firewalls. Okay. So Hikvision, yes, I remember them. I think there were some stories about Hikvision in the news. D-Link, Unitronics. Okay. Malware allows hackers to remotely control infected devices, move laterally within victim systems, and more. Okay. And of course, things are we're in a shooting war between Israel and Iran right now, so that's crazy. Um, yeah, yeah. So, well, thank you, Fix It. I appreciate that. I uh, it's it's really weird. It's just all of a sudden just it's happening, and life is just will not be the same again. She'll come back from camp and she'll continue going to camp. And then she may be back for a couple of months, but the idea is she'll move on site to SDSU and live on campus. So, when she comes home, she'll be coming home from school. It's not like she technically lives here anymore. So, and that'll go on for a couple of years. And then, depending on, what her situation is, she might move back home, which is fine. But she'll need to find a job again, or she could continue working at the camp, I guess. But yeah, it was a fundamental shift in work. Yeah, definitely big changes. So, May 2025 report from ASEC. I don't know who ASEC is, but they sound terribly important. So let's go look and see what that's all about. Oh, had an intro there. This report provides statistics on the number of new ransomware samples collected, number of affected systems and affected companies in May 2025. Okay. Following shows a number of ransomware samples collected within the last 6 months. Interesting. So 548. Okay, that is their website is busted. Yeah, their website's busted. 548 samples in May, down from 847. Now, obviously, they're variants, right? So maybe not. If, as we mentioned with Kim Jong Rat or whatever, there was at least 2 other variants for that. So I don't know if this is completely brand new, never before seen ransomware or whatever, or if it's a variant of one of those, or 5 or 6 different variants based on version numbers or what have you. Statistics are collected by affected companies. Well, that doesn't say much. I don't. Okay, so this doesn't tell me anything here. Below the statistics, affected companies posted by DALS of the ransomware groups collected by ATP. You know what? I'm not. Yeah, interesting. So they're showing us without actually showing us real data. So um, there wasn't much here in this article. Didn't take much. It looks, yeah. Uh, So that one probably won't show up in the quiz, but um, let's see. Mm, Canyon's weapons, Agenic. The attack that knocked back nuclear's program. Okay. Israeli airstrikes, extensive airstrikes. Are they doing cyber attacks? I would assume that they're doing cyber attacks. I don't see anything here specifically, but yeah, they're shooting at one another. Things are getting killed. So hopefully we'll figure it out one day. 137 key cybersecurity statistics. Interesting. I've been dealing with a lot more metrics recently, and one of the again areas of stress that I have is being able to have to create dashboards, and I have not found a good way to create dashboards yet. So thankfully, I have a data engineer that helps me, and I've mentioned her before. Um, More than a quarter of cybersecurity professionals say employees in remote and hybrid work challenges use the same or weak passwords as being their greatest challenge. Interesting. Okay. This is from Huntress. Okay. Cyber safety concerns for remote and hybrid workers influence 61% of business decisions to return to the office after COVID-19 pandemic. Cyber safety concerns? Hmm. See, I'm not I'm not sure this is a legitimate statistic. Employees in remote and hybrid work environments using the same or weak passwords is their biggest 28% is their biggest challenge is weak or same passwords. You can control that remotely by IT sending new password resets or engaging in purchasing and installation of technology that removes the need to have passwords. I would be interested in understanding the question because it feels like they asked a bunch of questions, people filled in circles, and then they said, well, 28% say, this is the biggest issue that they had with, what is the biggest weakness that you have in dealing with remote or work hybrid conditions? That would be this. Cyber safety concerns for remote. See, this is vague as shit. I'm beginning to think that this is a nothing burger survey as well. What cyber safety concerns, right? Are we citing? We're not even. This isn't. So if you hover over the link, it says blog, remote work, security best practice. Okay, so cyber safety concerns. Okay, whatever that means. An overwhelming majority feel confident in their organization's ability to protect sensitive information. Okay, so you know, safety concerns are 61% of business decisions to go to RTO. But 90% of professionals feel like they can protect sensitive data in remote and hybrid work environments. So that is not a problem in protecting sensitive data is not one of the cyber safety concerns. 3/5, yeah, that'd be 60% of respondents believe the shift to remote has positively impacted their ability to prevent and predict cybersecurity. Okay, so that's not a cyber safety concern. By Digital Warhead, hello. By forcing certificate-based auth or 2FA, employers who offer only username and password could be seen as vulnerable. Sure. And there are solutions out there for that. I would argue that some of those solutions themselves have been owned, like Okta or one of those. But there are other solutions that can be implemented or purchased that would fit a need in an organization. The most commonly implemented cybersecurity policies for remote and hybrid workers are regular cybersecurity training. Okay, because it's cheap and it's the cheapest option and it's usually a checkbox for compliance. Encrypted password managers. Um, Okay, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. And virtual private network, sure. I find irony in the fact that a VPN is you know 64% one of it's like the third most deployed. I would assumed that VPNs or virtual private networks would have been like the 84% here. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in password managers, yeah, because if you don't have a certificate-based auth system like Digital Warhead had mentioned, you're gonna have multiple passwords. I'm incredibly lucky that I have two passwords that I need: one to log into my computer and one to authenticate my Yuba token, and that's it. That's all I got, and I don't write them down. They're all on my Yuba key. That's it. That's all I got. I don't even have a password manager where don't have one, don't need one. Um, it helps that my password is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 characters long because I can put up to 40 characters on that first gen YubiKey. Um, oh, and to Warhead's point, only 2 in 5 IT professionals noted their organization uses MFA. So 40% of companies still have implemented MFA, 60% have not, and it um, could be any number of reasons for that. 2/5 of organizations conduct cybersecurity training every quarter. Quarter? Shit. That's a lot. Well, I mean, it takes me like 15 minutes to go through my cybersecurity training, so it's not a huge deal. 2/5, so that's another 40%. So I'm I'm trying to reconcile the fact that, okay, so 84% of companies, the most common cybersecurity policy is regular security training, but only 2/5 of those organizations implement or conduct cybersecurity training every quarter. Yeah, there's a lot of training going on at 40% of these companies. And it could be something like they send an email, they have a newsletter, here, watch this video, hey, here's a fail, here's an article that's interesting, that kind of thing. 1 in 10 organizations conduct cybersecurity training once a year or less. That's pretty typical, right? Um, annual security training, right? Um, I want to say that I've read a white paper that talked about no matter how much security training you push at people, they're not going to retain that. So, it really depends on how motivated people are to remember and retain that kind of information. 1/3 of respondents think overall employee cybersecurity awareness needs improvement. I'd like to understand who those respondents are. While 46% rated as meet expectations, sure. Roughly half is like, yeah, it's good enough, right? It's good enough. They're aware of cybersecurity. Uh, they're aware. So this is a fairly large article. I didn't realize there were so many. Okay, wow. There's a uh, yeah, there's a lot of statistics in here. Somebody took a lot of time and effort to work on this. Good job, Brenda, getting all these facts in the system. Uh, wow, I'd love some sources cited here. Oh, okay, so they have a ITRC. Okay, the ITRC data breach report. So there's a synopsis there for that. Here is the article. There's the breach report for some of that stuff. Huntress, they have a cyber threat report as well, which you can download and get if you really wanted to get it. Remember, Bob at bob.com is your friend if you want to get that without having to be hounded by cyber leads or sales leads. Uh, phishing stats, ransomware stats, hacking stats, Cobalt Strike's still the most prevalent tool. Sure, that makes sense. PS exec, most frequently used sysinternal tools by attackers. AD, delete, right? Screen Connect, most exploited remote access tool. Not a RAT, which is different. RAT is remote admin tool. This is a remote access tool like RDP or whatever. Most exploited remote access tool by bad guys. Mimikatz and generic malware were the top tools for gaining access to system creds. Sure. Thank you to everybody who created Mimikatz because they've helped prop up the industry. I'm beginning to think that maybe when we're creating offensive tools for use by ourselves, we're actually helping to continue our industry. It's like an Ouroboros of things, you know, good guys create a tool, bad guys use tool, good guys have to find a counter to bad, now bad tool like Mimikatz or Cobalt Strike by creating more tools to detect those things, which are then used by bad guys to, do things which the good, continues. It's a circle. I'm not going to sing that song. I'm just going to say it's a circle. Domain enumeration accounted for hands-on keyboard attacks, for the main hands-on keyboard attacks in 2024. That is interesting. That's in that cyber report. Okay. Cyber insurance expected to grow 8%. Market premium projection of 16.6 billion. Okay. Uh, that's nuts. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not surprised by this one. 1 in 4 healthcare professionals cite budget constraints as a top threat. Yeah, there's a lot of stats here. This could be helpful if you are, working on goals for next year, or budget potentially. If you can go to management and say, hey, this is, according to our industry, blah, one in, especially if you're in healthcare, it'd be like, oh, 1 in 7 healthcare people have, we can't hire people. Why not? Well, we're not the only ones. 1 in 7 healthcare companies are having problems hiring qualified people. Uh, we should figure out why that's a problem, or why, how we can solve that or address that. So, um, hmm. Well, they're not closing the skills gap. There was not a skill gap. The problem is they're laying off 10% of their companies to buy Gen AI so that they can, you know, replace people with humans with AI. So, um, oh, ISC Squared has a report too. Okay, so they have a workforce study from ISC Squared. IBM has a data breach report there. Anyway, so yeah, it's a lot to read, but if you're looking for potential facts that you can use to justify a new budget, or if manpower, hiring, that kind of thing, might want to take a look at this and see what data you can bring to the party in that respect. So, um, yeah, maybe one more story. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Is anybody going? Oh, wait, sorry. Is anybody dealing with budget or like goal setting for the year? Because nobody likes setting goals, but um, I've actually had to start doing that. And like not only that, just working on strategy document for various things. That's what I've been doing at work, trying to figure out, you know, where we can improve things. And um, we actually had a decent head start on that because we had an on-site, and if you remember, about a month ago, and we brainstormed on things that we could do for the hackathon or things that we could do for work on that. And we had I think we came up with about 10 to 15 different things that, we could do. And, one of the things that, we ended up, I think, focusing on 2 items, but we had like 10 other things. And my manager and I were sitting down. We're like, oh, we need to, think about roadmap and think about things for the next year, for what we're going to do for goals and whatever. And I was like, well, we already have a list of things, potential work that we could do. Um, and if we step back a little bit and think about it from how we can include other teams, then we could expand the scope of some of these to be a real a real goal kind of thing for the operational year. And so sometimes just brainstorming what you would like to do with the idea of blue sky thinking has been helpful, has been really useful. So um, uh, I mean, we still have a long way to go creating goals and stuff. We're supposed to have them done by middle of July, but it takes us a while to get through the whole process of because our goals bubble up with other teams' goals to our manager, and then that kind of thing. So we'll create like 8 or 9 of them. They'll create 8 or 9. Another team will create 8 or 9, and we go up to our manager, and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna deal with like the top, 6 or something like that." So we may end up with 1 or 2, maybe 3. The other teams will have a couple, and then we'll fight to the death to figure out who's going to do what and when and where. In that case, um, and then as other stuff comes through. So, um, but yeah, metrics, goals, so much fun. Didn't realize how much I was going to fall into that at this particular job. So, um, yeah, digital warhead. Uh, you know, fix it. Everybody's hanging out today. Welcome if you're here. If you're new, appreciate you coming. We will get to the. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. Link file formats. Um, yeah. So I have to go cook dinner here in about 25 minutes. So I do want to finish up, see if I can get through the last OOP thing. As I told everybody before we got here. Oh, what is this? What is this? Digital warhead. Before we get started. Yes. That is very good. Thank you for posting this up, Digital Warhead. If you are exercising, if you're in the United States or other places, and you're exercising in the U.S. your First Amendment right of freedom of assembly and speech, you might have found out that there was an event on the 12th, I think. Yeah. Um, you know, we had protests, no kings. I think there's another one in July 17th. I think that there's another one expected to occur. But yeah, having your device is, everybody wants to film their stuff, or, hey, here's all the people. There's tons of video of what was going on at the protests. But your phone can be used against you if something was to happen, or you could lose your phone or whatever. So, yes, losing your device, authorities confiscating it, service disruptions, surveillance, disrupting your service. People go to DEF CON and Black Hat, and if they're a noob or something, the first thing would be like, do I need to buy a burner phone? You know, eh, only if you are paranoid enough, if that's if somebody using a Stingray to intercept your phone calls is in your threat model, then yeah, you probably want to get a burner. But I took mine last year. I didn't have any problems. I turned off Bluetooth, but I did turn off any radios I didn't need. Targeted surveillance disrupting service, right? Block calls of SMS, or monitoring any unencrypted traffic you might send over, monitoring communications over local radios like walkie-talkies. Yes, some of those, depending on how cheaply your walkie-talkie or two-way radios are, they may or may not be encrypted, or they're using an encryption method that has already been broken by certain groups in our military-industrial complex. Use of SMS, if you have connectivity to data through cellular or whatever, Signal is still probably the preferred method by which you would want to discuss things like that. Interference with web services, blocking popular platforms like Twitter or TikTok, Instagram, etc. Messengers and voice services like Signal and WhatsApp. Burner phones are good if you feel like you need to have one of those. I think one of the things that could probably be good is a little while ago it was using biometrics to unlock your phone. You don't necessarily have to be conscious, or you can be compelled to give over your face unlock or your thumbprint unlock or whatever to your phone. Whereas anything stuck in your head, like a pin, like my phone, you can be held in contempt and you can be thrown in jail, but you know it instead of it being part of you, is often a good way of making sure that you're not you don't have to be forced to unlock your phone. Burner phones, yes, yes, yes. Your MZ and your ME, IMEI are your unifiers on your phone that identify your phone versus somebody else's. Secondary disposable device is an option, right? If the threat you face is serious enough, you feel the need to do this, you should strongly consider not bringing a phone at all. Exactly. Properly securing a disposable burner is fairly challenging and may not be worth it, right? Um, and iPhone SEs are not expensive, but there are cheaper versions of phones. You just have to know that some of those cheaper phones are fairly underpowered or they use older CPUs. Um, do not activate or power it on at home. Oh, for a burner phone, right? So a lot of this is I think for digital warhead, I think a lot of this is OSINT, right? If you're going to buy a burner phone, use cash, credit card to leave a trail. You bought this at a gas station, at a 7-Eleven, your face is on camera, you've taken, you pay with cash. Don't activate it or power it on at home. Uh, and the one thing I would caveat about this is some of the phones, like especially like my Pixel 9, even if the power is off, GPS still works. Now I don't know if it hasn't been set up yet, then that's not the case. But you might want to keep that in mind. I don't know if they go to the nth degree here, and maybe you need to put in some kind of Faraday cage or some kind of copper foil packet thing that would block any RF uh, signals. That might be something if you need that kind of additional protection. If possible, try and purchase and set up the phone well in advance. This certainly depends on your plans. Spreading out your purchase, activation, and use of the device is less easy to detect, right? Because normally you buy a phone, you rip it out of the plastic, you turn it on, oh, typey, 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 log in with your Google account, and then you're all set up and ready to go. So buy it, wait a couple weeks, maybe you want to activate it, maybe you don't activate it at your home, maybe you activate it at a park or something like that, someplace that might not be around your local home or within like a route that you normally take. Secondary device should be reasonably modern, correct. Smartphones are more secure against sort of threats activists likely to face, such as someone trying to crack your device's data. Dumb, simple phone will be, right? Yeah, they may have many more options for secure and encrypted comms. Um, Using a secondary device only at protests allows you to leave your primary device powered on and at home. Yep, strong screen lock, right. Pins. You should protect your phone with an alphanumeric passphrase. I know that my phone does allow for alphanumeric passphrases. Um, I'd be afraid of forgetting my passphrase and I'd be shot out of luck. So I do use a 9-digit, like 9-digit? Yeah, a 9-digit pin. Don't use a 4-digit pin because there's tools out there like, the Cellbrites of the world that or just there's certain ways to get around things that with a certain number of guesses can be done. Also, don't make your pin 0000. Don't be stupid. Okay. um, I know that might be the combination on your luggage, but still. um, yeah, I think the other thing is not beyond even just your electronics is just knowing your legal rights, knowing what because a lot of times if you're unaware of the law, you cannot mount a defense if somebody is to tell you, well, you can't record here, or you can't take pictures here, or you're trespassing on government property or whatever. You be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your legal rights, maybe write them down. Um, um, yeah, just disabling biometric authentication. There you go. Face ID, Touch ID, shoulder surfing attacks. They need to steal your pin discreetly, watching it. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, this is a good article. I'm not going to go. I've already gone through about half of it, but there's definitely something you should reach out and follow. Um, I know anywhere between what 10 to 10 to 15 million people, I think, protested in the US, and I'm sure it was just as many or more overseas. But yeah, you want to make sure that you're staying safe when you're going out and, exercising your rights. So yeah. Uh, yeah, good article, Digital Warhead. Good article. So uh, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and accept. I want to collect. Yes. Run. Make sure these all pass. All right, submit. Okay, 400. Oh, this is going to go quick. Okay. Um, export overloading. Okay, that one passed. 348. All right, so I've got another 300 here. It's late for you. Oh, okay. And then go do this one here. Run and make sure it passes. There is the. All right, I need one more. They really nerfed these since we did all these. Run. Okay, so this one passed as well. There we go. All right, so I got my daily chest. So what I did was I banked those because I was like, I'm not going to be able to, you know, it's taken me almost a day to do each one of these. So I was like, I don't want to have to, not get my gem. All right, I got me a baked salmon. I got 5 more gems, so that's good, and an XP potion. So, um, and I can't get another chest for another 7 hours, so that's okay. All right, so the last one here. So one of the things that I learned is with Python is it has certain methods that are kind of built into Python, and when they call about these, they call them overloading. Overload the following comparison operators. You can actually make equal, because equal is when you set when you do a comparison, like x is greater than y. It actually calls this method internally to itself and says, okay, I'm going to compare these two things. And I actually got into kind of a fight with the bit here. So where did I say that? Yes. Right. So I said, how does the script know that other means compare with other card? And he said, in Python, methods like equal, less than, and greater than are called magic methods or dunder methods. When you write an expression such as, that, the card automatically translate this to card 1 is greater than card 2. Self refers to card 1, other to card 2. I didn't know where other had come from during this because I was like, well, where the hell are you getting other from? And because it's not very well explained in the lessons here about, this is how it works. So I had to actually ask this question of these things. 67 gems, 20 potions, and 34 baked salmons. Oh, what do I got? I got 373 gems, 5 potions, 3 armors, 24 baked salmon, and 5 frozen flames. So, and I religiously probably use boots, so I would have more, but the last couple I actually didn't need to use boots. Unlike the questions and stuff, I actually didn't need boots on this one because this one was actually easy enough to figure out based on the instructions here. Because all it was you needed to override this. It started out as pass, and so it was like def stir self, and it was like you need to return this method. So Dunder Mifflin, yeah, exactly. Digital Warhead. I'm not an Office fan. I haven't watched the series, but I recognize Dunder Mifflin being the bit. But so this one was a, um, this one was create a format for this saying when print is called on this instance of dragon the string I am whoever the color should be printed, and so um, the name, self, and color. So name is Smaug, the color is red. And so when that is called, this would be the names that you want to put in there. And it worked out. But you can actually make string do pretty much whatever you want it to do. And one of the things that I didn't quite understand with overload is you can make equal do something other than its default setting by overloading it to do something else. And I think I asked Boots that too. Where was it? I was right. Where? Yeah. Yeah. Right. So equal, EQ dunder method returns a true or false, right? It's true or false, when you're comparing these things. And I was like, isn't it possible to make EQ return something that isn't true or false? Boots says it is technically possible to make EQ return something that isn't true or false. Python will not stop you from returning, say, a string or number or object. Like he mentions here, class silly, define self and other return waffles, right? But it's not recommended. Um, I suggested, well, you could have a localized version of that. So maybe not every time you hit equals, it will do that. Only just with when you're inheriting it from a certain thing. And he suggested, yeah, you can absolutely override EQ in a subclass to behave differently than its parent. Um, First, I learned you refused to watch Mr. Robot, and now I learn you refuse to watch The Office. You know what? Okay, I have tried to watch The Office. I um I don't know why it's funny. I know. Oh my God, there go all my viewers. Um, I don't know. I don't know why I don't like it. I've watched it. My daughter has, she's watched everything under the sun. She's watched The Office. She would turn it on Comedy Central on Saturday mornings, and they have like a, Parks and Rec, which is another one I haven't watched. I just don't like the mockumentaries. I just don't. I just don't like the format. And maybe it's because it doesn't have a laugh track and I don't know where to laugh. I think that's a problem with me. But yeah, I have not watched Parks and Rec. I've not watched any of the mockumentary like fake camera crews following around a company and whatever. Just never done it. Just yeah. See, I love Monty Python. I love British humor, so that yeah. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I don't. We've been watching a lot of Andor recently, so I think we're gonna maybe finish up Andor tonight, season two. Um, I have a feeling it's not going to be a happy ending because, from what I understand, it's supposed to like lead right into the Rogue One. But my guess is that Andor and his friends or whoever's left, it's not going to be a happy ending. Thinking, which is interesting. Is interesting. Um, but anyway, so Boots was talking about various methods by which you can return true, or you can return normal, or you can return waffles instead of true. And mentioned down here, inheritance lets you change what EQ does. The object's type on the left decides which EQ is called, right? But you can't have it change behavior within a scope. Um, yeah, Walt, I don't know. I've tried to watch it, and yeah, it's almost like, oh, there's no laugh track, so I don't know when to laugh. Now I don't know if that's an ADHD thing of mine, but um, yeah, I mean, we watch Big Bang Theory, and it's funny, it's okay. I mean, watch Friends all the time. It's got me through the pandemic, but yeah, it's just really weird. It's just really weird. Very particular about things we watch. So. Yeah, I thought about maybe checking out the British version of that, the Office, as well. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the British humor, like Faulty Towers and all that stuff. I don't mind that one. That's pretty nice. The older humor there. So all right. Well, so I'm almost done, literally almost done with OOP. And so, as I was telling Walt at the beginning of the stream when I was showing him this, I was like, it took me a little bit to get through this one right here, and working with Boots and making all of this happen. And then I didn't even realize that, oh, the answers are right over here. I'd have just gone to the next lesson. I could have just cheated by going to the next lesson, but it didn't even, uh, I didn't even think about the fact that we're building upon an application. So um, the answers would be the next lesson. So I can't even cheat right. Yeah. So it's super weird like that. So the last thing that we need to do, because I'm not going to turn this in until tomorrow when I can get me my big, my big chest, because once I complete this, and you get like 3 to 4,000 XP for completing OOP. So even if I come up with this answer today, I wouldn't be doing anything with it right now. I would probably submit it in about 7 or 8 hours. Maybe tomorrow, because 7 hours from now would be like after midnight. I'll be asleep. So, and there must be fire in the area, because it is that. So the other thing that got me, sorry, to go back to this one, was I asked it how it's comparing suit, self.suit and other.suit, because I was like, it's comparing two cards, right? And I was like, well, I think I asked it, I was like, well, what happens? Where was it? Yeah, here you go. So I asked it the question, I was like, you suggested this as a solution to GT, because it had given me the answers after I explained, hey, what we should be doing with this. And I said, why is it so much more complex than the EQ version? If I'm reading that correctly, if the ranks are the same, it'll return self.suite index is greater than suit.index, but how does it decide which suit is higher? There's no quantifiable reason why a heart is higher than a spade. And that's when it told me it's based on how the index works, right? So spades has an index of 3, so it's the highest suit. Ace is basically the last element in the list, so it's the highest rank. And I asked it, well, what happens if I move 2 to the highest rank? And that's when it said, oh, you know, it's not making that delineation. It's not deciding, well, 2 is less than 3, so 3 should be the one. So if I put 2 over here in between, king and whatever, 2 has a greater value than king or a queen at this point. And I was like, that doesn't make any damn sense. So something to think about if you're doing a comparison based on the amount of something versus where it sits in the index on a list, because this script does not take that into account. It just says, oh, ace has got a higher index number than 2 does, so ace is higher. And that's basically what he says right here. This card's strength comes only from its position in the list, not from its literal numerical value. So, if you played ace low, then ace would be below 2, so 2 would have a higher value than ace is. Right. Yeah, so, we got into it and talked a little bit about that, and that's when I asked about other and all that. So I was tempted to view the answers, but that would only be cheating myself. Well, I don't think you get any experience for just viewing the solution on this one. And you burn a seer stone, right? Which I don't have any seer stones. I sold all mine because I usually try to figure out the solution myself. But so yeah, I can look at it now that I've solved it, and you see how it makes some slight changes to, there's spacing issues and that. I didn't break out the return here. I just, and it does. Uh, I don't know what the difference is there, but it's maybe spacing. Maybe it's a white. Maybe it's something. Maybe it's a space or a tab or something like that. But yeah, so it's just interesting that the logic is Jack is higher than a 2, but in this case it's only because it's got a higher index number. So I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, and then I come over to this last one, and just before I started the stream, I was like, oh, well, look there. I could have just come over and done that. But yeah, it did feel like cheating. But I have gone ahead in the lessons when I needed to get my chest for my XP bonus to be able to make that happen. So what I'm hoping is that once I solve the high card, I just need to mix up some, um, change some of the less than or greater thans for the low card or the high card to make it a low card round. Um, so I'm going to create a constructor that takes two cards, card one and card two, and stores them as instant variables. Assuming that is correct. Let's. Sometimes I just hit up Boots and I'm asking sanity check. I find putting the markdown code snippets in there make for a better output. Sometimes I run into spacing issues where I didn't indent something, and when I copy paste it, sometimes that doesn't show up in there. So doing a sanity check on the code. See your code, you're on the right track thinking about storing the cards, but there's a few syntax errors. Constructor method, what method do you need to define to initialize a card instance and accept a card one and card two parameters? Assuming we need a self, right? Oh, self and round. Okay, so yeah, all right. Python names can't start with numbers. Oh, well, there you go. That would have been another issue that I would have had a problem with, so I'll remove those. How do you properly define a method in a class? What's missing from your resolve round line? Mm, okay, yeah. So I was going to call resolve round because I'm supposed to call it up there, but accessing parameters, where do card one and card two come from? Good answer. How would you receive them when creating a high card round instance? Okay, think about how the card class above defines its init method. You'll need something similar for your high card, right? Well, I'd already thought about putting the super in there, super method for that, because the super method, let me show you a solved version here. There's no super in that one. Super in that one. Super is all about inheritance, right? So, damn. And I didn't create a super for any of these, did I? Okay. Wow. All right. So, yeah, here you go. So you have your super, which inherits everything from uh, the previous one, so human in this case. The super says basically take everything in the human class and put it down inside of the archer because archer inherits everything from human. Again, I'm still finding some of the concepts on these things a little difficult, but it's starting to make sense in some cases uh, when it makes sense. So knit, I probably need to include resolve round method that returns a 1 if card 1 is higher than card 2, 2 if card 2 is higher than card 1, and 0 if the cards are equal. All right, so, wow, okay. Oh, wait, let's go back down here. What method do you need to define to initialize a class instance and accept card 1 and card 2 parameters? Yes, super knit. Need to add some parameters. Parameters to my card round. Oh, so it is definitely looking at the code window. Beforehand, it was like you had to copy things in, or I felt like you had to copy things in, but it's definitely scanning and looking for these items compared to how other classes are being defined, right? So we have self, rank, and suit. So potentially we need a self, rank, and suit here. And then we would time is it? Ooh, okay. Damn, I didn't realize the time. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so it's been a little late. Probably not correct. You should define a class that inherits from another class. You should go into the parentheses. Look at how card doesn't inherit from anything. It just has class card, but your high card round. All right, fix it. Have a good night. Take care. Thanks for coming. Be safe. Parameters don't go into class definition method. Where do they go instead? Think about what method is called when you create a new instance of class. What the funny thing is, this is like a 6, right? Took me a little while to finish this one, which was an 8, I think, on the difficulty list. Yep. Okay. All right. What two things does high card round need to receive when it's created? Hint, it's not rank or suit. Those are individual cards. Oh, okay. So high card round doesn't need the rank or the suit. It needs to compare the index of, it doesn't need the card itself. It needs the index value. So it needs like, needs this, like rank index is what it's looking for, is the location in the list. We just talked about that, right? The higher the index number on your list, the higher it is, right? Um, which, I mean, it makes sense for rank, but suits are just completely, random, right? It could be a heart that's the top suit in this case. Um, okay, all right. Uh, I hate to lose and run, but I have to go get dinner ready. So what I'll do is, hopefully, what will happen is we will continue on through here, and we will be building an asteroid game with the next bit that happens. I have to go prep for dinner, so I didn't realize I used up all of our time talking about news and stuff, which kind of sucks. But yeah, so we'll be using and building asteroids, which will be fun, I think, for something different, and it won't be object-oriented programming, or it'll just be more of the same object-oriented programming, and we'll have to, engage folks on that. I am kind of interested on building an AI agent in Python. Um, there's only 18 lessons, but I imagine it's going to be kind of interesting using Google Compute, or using Gemini to create a Claude clone in this case. So I'm going to go. I already checked, and obviously this is the same one that was the last time for Sockville's quiz, but I'm going to go, and I'll probably explain the answer when I get done the next time. But I really want to be done with object-oriented programming right now. I feel like it's been Shawshank for me for the past month and a half trying to go get through this one. I'm really hoping that the asteroids game is going to be a little bit easier. I imagine that it's going to when I had mentioned the um, where was it? Was it the it was the yeah, this. I have a feeling we're going to be doing a lot of this with regards to asteroids, because what we're going to need to do is the asteroid body is going to be moving, or it's going to be in a spot. So like this red rectangle here, we're going to be shooting it, and we will be shooting at a coordinate, and we would have to be like, this is the asteroid. I took a shot. Is that shot inside that box? If it's inside the box, the asteroid goes boom, right? That's why I said I have a feeling that we're going to be getting rid of OOP, but we're going to be getting right back into it, because we'll have to be doing a lot of polygons and things like drawing polygons. So yeah. Anyway, um I think I'm gonna go. Hope everyone has a good day. Thanks, Digital, for being here. Thanks, Walt. Thanks, Fix It. Thanks to all the lurkers. Appreciate y'all. Even if you don't want to respond, I appreciate you being here. And I'm going to go and barbecue some steaks. So hope everyone has a good day. I am working on an interview with Jay Beal. For those of you who know Jay Beal, he worked at InGuardians, or still works at InGuardians. Is up in the Seattle area. He's giving a training at Black Hat, and he has a CTF, or Kubernetes, which I seem to remember that maybe he had one before. I don't know if it's new or if he's refreshed it, but I'm trying to get him on for Sunday night with Ms. Berlin, Mr. Betcher, and myself to talk about that. So waiting for him to respond to an email that I need to send his email to him. I have his InGuardians email, but I didn't know if that was still the one that was good for this. But yeah, I'm hoping we'll have him on Sunday, or maybe the following Tuesday at this time, and we'll talk about Kubernetes and CTFs. So I hope everyone has a good rest of their day, rest of their week. I'll probably be on Thursday, because Friday I have to go to a concert. So look for me on Thursday. I'll be explaining the answer to this one for boot.dev, and we'll see what we can do. Okay. Hope everyone has a good day. Talk to y'all later. Bye.